Hi and welcome to today's session. Today's session is kettlebells. So we're going to need a mat, we're going to need kettlebells obviously. If you don't have kettlebells, then obviously sometimes you can just adjust using a dumbbell. So first and foremost, you need to make sure you're fit and healthy and you are injury free. Obviously if you do have any just niggling injuries that you feel that you are able to work out with, that is absolutely fine, but obviously just please work within your own limits, okay? So we will give out modifications when to increase the resistance, when not to increase the resistance. So with no further ado, we're going to, if you've got a device, you can set your device to a high intensity workout program. We're going to start with our nice warm up. So we're going to make sure we've got plenty of space around us. So obviously each room has a different amount of space, so work with what you have available. So we have those feet comfortably wide apart. We're going to take a nice big squat and a shoulder roll. So when we're doing this action, we want to make sure that we're not going to wrap our fingers or our bottoms or our toes or anything that possibly that we're going to get caught up in any furniture or light fittings. So we want to make sure those abdominals stay nice and connected. We want to keep that width across that body. We want to keep that length through that body. So as we start to warm up and as you get warmer throughout the warm up and the workout, remember to add obviously drink water and also open any doors and windows to ensure that good ventilation. And we've got another 3 and 2 and 1. Excellent. So we'll have those feet now nice and parallel. So if you want to turn your toes out, you can do. Alternatively, you can keep your feet parallel. And we're going to do our little baby squats. We want to keep those shoulders nice and open. We want to keep that width across that body. And we want to keep that nice connection with our tummies and our backs. And then we're going to take it a little bit deeper again. And we're going to keep that chest nice and lifted. So again, you want to make sure those knees, your hips, your ankles, so that this whole line of movement here stays nice and happy. And then we're going to take it a little bit deeper again. Let's keep that width across that body. Let's keep that gap between the chin and the chest. So when we're working with kettlebells, we want to make sure that we keep our hands nice and dry. And we've got for 3, 2, 1, draw it all the way up for you. So we'll bring those feet together. We'll take those arms out in front. We're going to get a nice big rotation. So we want to keep that width across that body, so watch out for any walls. We want to open up through the shoulders and the chest, keeping that head and that neck nice and long. And again, we want to allow that rotation pattern to come from our ankles. So let's keep that chest nice and lifted for me. Let's keep that width across that body. Brilliant. And we've got for 3 more on each side. 2. And 1. Brilliant. So we're going to bring those hands to our hips. We're going to take that knee up. We're going to open up through that hip joint and place it down. We're going to go up and around. So again, don't worry if you get a little bit off balance on this one, that's okay. Again, just make sure you're not going to wrap your toes or your feet around anything. We want to keep that chest nice and lifted, keeping that length through that body for me, keeping those shoulders nice and open, and keeping that width across that body. And remember to breathe. Brilliant. And we're going to do for 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Now we're going to do exactly the same coming in. So as we bring that foot in, again, remember don't stand on your own feet and don't scrape the inside edge of your ankle bone with your trainers, okay? So keep that chest nice and lifted, mobilizing through those joints, particularly those hips. We want to make sure that hip area is thoroughly warmed up. Brilliant. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Now I'm going to swing that leg forwards and backwards. So you want to make sure you're not going to wrap your toes around anything. I'm just going to do it on a diagonal. So I'm going to swing that leg forwards and backwards. So we want to keep that chest nice and lifted. Don't worry if your balance isn't very good. We all have our good and our bad balance days. That's absolutely fine. Remember, the leg will go further forwards than it will go back. Okay, otherwise you end up tilting at the hips. So again, just make sure you're not going to wrap your toes or your heels around anything. And more importantly, that you're not going to kick any kettlebells. Remember to breathe. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we'll just come back to the centre, so I'm going to join you on this way. Now, obviously at any time throughout the workout, if you feel faint or dizzy or anything like that, then just stop the workout and obviously make sure you get some fresh air and obviously sit down. Sometimes it can just be because of lack of fluid and also maybe not if you haven't had any breakfast. So again, just make sure you have breakfast before a good couple of hours before you work out, and obviously make sure you stay hydrated during your workouts. So again, very important to keep that hydration up. Small sips as we go throughout the workout. I will remind you, but obviously do grab a drink as and when you need it. Don't just wait for me to say it. And we've got for 3, 2, and 1. Lovely. Now we're going to do this one going across the body. So we want to really think about that space between the rib and the hip. So keeping this nice and open, keeping your shoulders nice and open. So we'll take that leg across the body and we'll get that nice opposing arms. So again, let's keep that width all the way through. Again, don't go too high. Again, just work with what is right for you. So again, making sure you can't wrap your toes or your heels around any bits of furniture. Keeping that chest nice and lifted. Tummy muscles stay in nice and tight. That's it. Keep it nice and strong. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lovely. So we'll pop that foot down. Let's reset our bodies. Again, just do a quick visual check around your room to make sure that you're not going to bash into anything. That would not be very good. Let's keep that chest nice and lifted. Tummy muscles in, nice and tight. Brilliant. We want to keep that width across that body. Oh, see, it's very easy just to overbalance. Don't worry about it. That's perfectly normal. And again, sometimes depending on your injuries that you've had in the past, so if you sprained your ankles or anything like that, then you'll be a little bit more wobbly on that balance. So don't worry, don't beat yourself up about it. Let's keep this chest nice and lifted. Keep that body nice and open. And we've got for 3, 2, and 1. So the first exercise we're going to go into is what we call a single arm swing. So a single arm swing, we want to have the resistance wise of anything between 4 kilogram kettlebell up to probably 10 or 12 depending on what you have. If with the kettlebell size you find it a little bit easy, then obviously just slow the kettlebell down if you don't have the next size up. Remember, kettlebells generally go up in 2 kilogram increments. So I'm going to start with a 4 kilogram. I'm going to keep that width across that body. So I'm going to start facing you, then I'm going to turn to the side so you can see the complete movement pattern. So the knees are soft. We're going to have a little hinge at the hip. We'll turn that weight in and we'll draw it up and through. So we're going to swing through the hips and we'll keep that gap between the chin and the chest. So I'm just going to turn so you can see. So again, making sure you're not going to bash your heads on anything or anything like so. So I'm going to turn and draw it up and through. So those tummy muscles stay nice and tight. Keep that width across that body. Keep that chest nice and lifted. We want to keep it into that nice big hip hinge position. So tummy muscles stay in tight. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slow it down. Other side. So again, make sure you're not going to bash anything. So again, I'm just going to turn to the front. I'm going to turn it in and up and through. Keep those tummy muscles nice and connected. Let's get that width across that body. Again, making sure that you don't swipe the inside edge of your leg with the kettlebell. And as I said before, if you start to get too much of a swing on it, you can just slow the speed down of the kettlebell or increase the resistance. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slow it down. Right, the next exercise we're going to do is a figure of 8. So with a figure of 8, you can go for a slightly heavier kettlebell. You want to make sure your hands are super dry. Okay, and if you do accidentally let go of the kettlebell, that you're not going to do any damage behind you. Okay, so we want to have those feet now comfortably wide apart. So we're going to do a nice big squat down, catch the kettlebell in between our legs. This is why it's really important to just keep that movement going smooth. Don't over go too fast. Keep those abdominals nice and connected. And we want to catch on the way through. So as you go through, behind, catch. So we want to keep it into a nice big deep squat position. And we've got another 10. Keep it strong, get his abs in. And 7, 6, 5, 4. You see, it's really easy to just get distracted. 2 and 1. Slow it down, brilliant. So just toe yourselves down if you need it. And we're going to go into our lunge position now. So I said it's really important to have that towel. Right, so we're going to do our lunge with our triceps. So remember, we're going to do both sides, so your triceps are going to tire fairly quickly. So go for a lighter kettlebell. I'm going to do it facing you first of all. So make sure you do a visual check behind you to make sure you're not going to stand on anything. We're going to bring that weight up behind the back of the head. Okay, so again, you may find if you've got it holding your handles and as you bring that arm up, if you feel like that's a bit unstable, change it to a goblet hold position. I prefer the goblet hold position, but that's just myself, okay? So don't just always go with what I'm doing. You may find you feel more comfortable. So we're going to take that leg behind in a nice extended position. Heel's going to stay lifted. We're going to lower it down and rise the arms up. So we're going to lower it down and up. So you want to keep those tummy muscles in, nice and tight. We've got that width across that body. We're going to keep that gap between the chin and the chest. So that nice deep lunge position. Keeping that breastbone, tummy button and pubic bone nice and in line. And we've got 2 more on this side. Brilliant, so we're going to bring that in. Now I'm going to do this one sideways on. So get your balance, nice long legs, set your position. So we're going to take it down and up. So again, you just want to make sure you've got that balance each time. If you need to adjust your feet just a little bit wider, do so. Again, we're going to work on the range of motion that is comfortable for your bodies. And 3 to go. And 1. Beautiful. So we'll bring that kettlebell in. Now put that kettlebell down nice and safely. Right, grab yourself a quick drink. We're going to move on to our squats with our uprights. Hydration is super important. Just a small sit for you. So with our squats and upright rows, you can either do a 4, 6 or 8 size kettlebell. So a couple of tips with this one. So first of all, put the kettlebell down. I want to make sure those feet are nice and wide. The elbows are going to go nice and wide. You want to make sure that when you pull up with your hand, you don't catch your chin. It'll hurt, okay? So that's really not a very good idea. Right, so we're going to start at the bottom. We want to have our bottom sticking back in that good squat position. So as we draw it up, we're going to rise the arms out nice and wide, have a good look, and then contract, lower it down towards the floor. So we're going to draw it all the way up and down. So we're going to keep those abdominals nice and connected on the way up and on the way down. So we really want to get that focus on keeping that weight nice and equal between the right side and the left side. Keeping that body nice and connected. Keeping that gap between the chin and the chest. So nicely squeeze those legs. So get those quads firing up, glutes, hamstrings. So again, if you're struggling on the resistance, obviously take it down a kettlebell size. If the lowest one is still too much, Then just do it with a couple of dumbbells, one in each hand. Brilliant. And we've got another 4 to go. So 4, 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. So pick it up with the squat position, pop that down. So we're going to go for a lighter kettlebell this time. We're going to need our mat. So we're going to need to make sure you've got plenty of space, okay? So more importantly, it's going to be, okay, above your head. So you don't need lots of space at your feet end, but you're going to need space above your head. So when we lie down, we're going to do a nice check in terms of our arms. So if you can't see, I'm just going to come down a little bit. So we want to make sure the knees are in line with the hips, pubic bone to our arms are nice and level. Your arm check above your head is to ensure that you're not going to take out any furniture, okay? So if you think you may take any furniture out or bash your floors, then just scoot down your mat to make sure you've got more mat at the top end, so that if you are a bit clunky on your positioning with your kettlebell, okay, that you just are clunking your mat and not your floors. Right, so we want to make sure your hands are super dry. So again, if you don't feel comfortable doing this with the kettlebell, I'm going to show you version 1 with the kettlebell, version 2 without the kettlebell. So we're going to curl it up, contract the abdominals nice and carefully, roll it up, and then we're going to roll it all the way back, nice and smooth. Take the weight above the head. Then we're going to reach it over to the outside edge of the knee, roll it through. So again, this is going to be determined by flexibility, mobility, and strength. And obviously when you add resistance into ab training, it increases the intensity tenfold. So if you don't want to do it with the weight, pop the weight down. We're going to reach it up and back down. And then over to the side, back down, to the side, back down. So that's your option without the weight. I'm going to return back to the weight. So I'm going to take the weight above my head first of all. I'm going to contract my abdominals. I'm going to roll up through the abdominals, reach it up. So again, just working where it feels comfortable. Okay, you may only get a couple of inches up, that's fine. Again, some days you are able to just do that a little bit more. You have a little bit more energy. So if you're on a low energy day today, then just work through the workout nice and carefully. If you don't finish all the repetitions, that's okay, it doesn't matter. We want to keep everything nice and strong and nice and moving. Remember to breathe. Brilliant. And we're going to do one more set. And as always, when finishing up each section, you always make sure you put your kettlebell away nice and safely, so you can't trip over on it. Brilliant. So we're going to pop that weight down. We're going to give our knees a quick cuddle. We're going to roll ourselves up. Brilliant. So first of all, we're going to do for safety is move our mats out of the way. Then, okay, if you're really hot and sweaty, we're going to tan ourselves down. And then we're going to go back to our single arm swing. So always make sure we've got that nice connection through. I'll just throw my towel completely on the floor now. Excellent. Right, so with our single arm swing, we're going to have those feet comfortably wide apart for me. We're going to keep that width across that body, keep that gap between the chin and the chest. So we're going to draw it through, we're going to lift it up and down. So we're going to make sure that we've got that nice hip hinge action, nice and smooth, nice and under control. We want to keep that body nice and connected. Remember to breathe. So you want to make sure that nice turning in action, palm down, turn it in. So each time we get a nice neutral position for the shoulder. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slow it down. Right, other side. I'm just going to do it more on a diagonal. So I'm going to turn it in, lift it up, and 3. So again, if you find it easy to have your hand on your outside of your hip, fine. Just make sure, again, you're not going to bash into anything. So as you're changing positions around your room, just make sure that, again, you're being mindful of the surroundings where you're working out. And the last one, awesome. Right, we're going to slow it down. We're going back to our figure of 8. So we're going to pick up a slightly heavier kettlebell. So again, the kettlebell sizing is down to entirely what you feel comfortable doing and how you're feeling today. So we want to first of all make sure those feet are nice and wide apart. We're going to do that nice big squat down and 3. So again, when we do the figure of 8, it is a definitive squat action. It's not a hinge. So really get a nice big squat action down and up. So again, make sure those hands are nice and dry, keeping those toe muscles in, nice and tight. Again, be mindful not to catch your legs. I do it on a regular basis. It's nothing, it just hurts every now and again. We just end up with these random bruises. So super important just to really think about these things as we're doing the exercise. Again, if you think your hands are getting a bit too sweaty, slow it down, stop, dry your hand, and rejoin. Let's get width across that body. And we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slow it down. Brilliant. So, depending on what size kettlebell you're going to choose now for your lunges and triceps, okay, change your position. So, we're going to do a nice cheeky position of our lunge. So I'm going to do it on a diagonal now, okay? So you want to have your right leg in front, your left leg behind. So you want nice long legs. Have that position of a goblet hold if that's the best position for you. Take the weight above your head, and then as we lunge it down, we're going to take it down and draw it all the way up. So you want to keep that length through that body, keeping those toe muscles in, nice and tight. Keeping that chest lifted. So we want to think about that breastbone. Ooh. See, it's really easy to get distracted. So breastbone, toe muscles and pubic bone nice and line. Remember to breathe. And last one. Brilliant. So bring that weight in, switch it over. So get your balance. Don't worry if you go a bit wobbly. It's really normal. Okay? And again, if you're a bit wobbly, that's okay. Just reset your balance as often as you need to. Some days your balance is super good. Other days it's not so good. And one more. Brilliant, and bring that in. Now we'll put that weight down, so if you want to make it a heavier weight, we're going to do our squats with our upright rows. So keeping those feet nice and parallel for me. We're going to open up through those shoulders. We're going to start at the bottom, remember. So again, you may find that when you're in this position, you want to just take your feet out a little bit wider apart. That's fine. So as we draw it up, nice and wide, we're going to take it down. Squeezing all that, so watch your chins on the handles, that you don't raise your handle the kettlebell too high. Watch your floors as you're placing it down. So you may want to have your mat underneath you for this exercise. Keeping those tummy muscles in at all times, elbows nice and wide. Brilliant, and we've got another 4 to go. Keep it strong. 3, 2, and 1. Brilliant, so again, pop that weight out of the way. Select the weight you're going to do for your abdominals. So remember, we're going to need a mat. We need to make sure we have space above your heads. I'm not so worried about your feet, okay, but obviously we are taking the weights behind our head and across the body. So nice neutral position, do that check. Again, as soon as you lie down, you guarantee you always will migrate up your mat. So again, make sure you've got space behind you, you're not going to wrap your fingers around anything, and most importantly, you're not going to wrap the kettlebell around any bits of furniture. So we're going to grab hold of the kettlebell. Again, nice hold position, make sure your hands are dry. We're going to take the arms above the head. We're going to roll it up nice and smoothly. So again, working through the range of motion that is right for your body. Take the arms down. Then we're going to reach across and through. So we keep that chest nice and open. So we want to make sure that we're working through a pain-free range of motion. Again, you only do what your body will allow you to do. So if on the second round you're tired, then by all means just lose the weight, it doesn't matter. Brilliant. I'm going to do 2 more repetitions, please. And this is your last repetition. Brilliant, so pop that weight down for me. Just roll yourselves back, give your knees a quick cuddle. Brilliant, we're going to roll ourselves up. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we're not going to bash into our kettlebells. And then we're going to move our mat out of the way. So again, safety first when you're working out at home, okay? Doesn't matter how big your space is, it's important to keep everything nice and safe. So the first exercise we're going to do is a 2-handed swing. So again, we want to keep it as that nice big hip action, really getting that hinging movement from the hip. So again, go for a lighter kettlebell to start with. If you want to go for a heavier one, by all means do so, but obviously work through that range of motion that you feel most comfortable. So first of all, feet are shoulder width apart, knees are soft. You want to make sure you've got a good grip of that kettlebell. We're going to slide it into that hip hinge position first of all. Kettlebell's going to come between the thighs, we're going to draw it up and through. So we get that nice big action. We want to engage through the inside thighs, engage through your buttocks. Keep that width across that body. So it's a hinge action, not a squat. Okay, so really open up through those hips. Each time we do this, we're going to come back to a nice neutral spine position. So that is super important that we just come back to that rib cage over hips. Again, if you've got chosen a lighter kettlebell and you feel like you're putting too much power through the legs, okay, by all means start to slow the speed down. It's actually much harder to control in doing a slow two-handed kettlebell swing. Remember to breathe. And we've got for 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow it down. Brilliant. So we're going to go for a heavy kettlebell now. Grab yourselves a drink. We're going to do our deadlift squat combination. So you can really increase the resistance on this one. As I said, it is super important to hydrate. So for this one, you can go anywhere from a sort of 4 through to a 12, possibly higher depending on what size kettlebells that you have. So I'm going to do this side on so you can see the whole movement pattern. So the important thing is with the deadlift, first of all, you're not going to headbutt anything. Secondly, you keep your knees nice and soft and you hinge at the hip. You keep that whole back straight. Okay, so particularly the upper back needs to stay nice and poker straight. We're then going to draw it all the way back up to the top. Then we're going to sink it down into that nice big squat action. And then we're going to draw it all the way back up again, nice and neutral. Open up across those shoulders. Keep those abdominals in nice and tight. Keep that back nice and straight. Again, hinging through. Keeping that body nice and long. Sinking it nice and back. Keeping that back nice and straight when we squat. And up. So I'm just going to come forward to fraction. And take that nice big hinge through. So you want that weight to stay nice and equal. Drawing it all the way through, contracting those abdominals. Keeping that width across that body. Tummy muscles staying nice and tight. Again, keeping it nice and connected. Again, contracting through those abdominals. So nice big squat action. Again, keeping it nice and smooth, nice and connected. So again, shoulder widths are nice. So collarbones are wide. Again, if you're getting nice sweaty hands, and obviously put your weights down and dry them off. So again, we want to really think about that squat position, that you're not shifting over to one side. Keeping that weight nice and equal through your feet. Again, keeping that body nice and long. So it's a really strong back line of the body workout, this one is. And we're going to do 2 more. And 1 more. Brilliant. So we're going to pop that weight down. Okay. And we're going to grab a lighter one. Okay. So we're going to work on our overhead press position. So feet are going to be nice and parallel. So we want to keep that space between the rib and the hip. We're going to have that kettlebell in that rack position there. Now, as we draw it up, we're going to press up to the ceiling. We get a little swivel and draw it back down. And then a little swivel to the top. And then back down in line with the shoulder. Little swivel up and down. So we're going to reach it up and down. So when we're doing this exercise, remember you do have to do a ceiling check, okay? It's no good just punching the ceiling with your kettlebell. Okay, do watch out for any watches on your wrists, okay? You want to keep that length through that body, keeping the abdominals connected. So you want that whole breastbone, tummy button, pubic line nice and connected. So you can just rest your hand onto your elbows as it comes down. You've got to know somewhere, a guideline to work with. And we've got another 4 to go. Little swivel at the top. 3, 2, and 1 more. going to swap it over. So, pop the kettlebell onto the shoulder. Again, what if you use that wrist position, and then we'll swivel it all the way up and back down. So again, it's just a good alignment position to get yourself into. So you come back in line with the shoulder, draw it all the way up, back in line and up. Again, keeping that width across that body, keeping those toe muscles in nice and tight. Again, watching out for any ceiling lights or fit-ins. And 3 left to go. 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Right, we're going to put that weight down. Right, so we're going to go into our bent over row, and we're going to really work into that back line of the body. So you may select a heavier weight, okay? So if you're not using the weight you've just used, pop it this weight out of the way, okay? Safety first. Right, so first of all, I'm going to do this on a diagonal position so you can see exactly what is going on. So you need to check your space that you're not going to have any bashes of the head. So that back's going to stay poker straight. We're going to squeeze the elbow in and we're going to lengthen it down. We're going to squeeze it in and down. So we're going to get right into those back muscles. So we want to make sure these toe muscles stay nice and connected. Keeping that weight transference nice and equally across the body. Brilliant. And 2 more. 1, and 1 more to go. Brilliant. So hinge it back up. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So reset the body, knees are soft. Take a bow. Again, make sure we're not going to bash our heads on anything. Squeeze the elbow back and lengthen. So you want to keep those toe muscles in nice and tight. Make sure your back and your legs aren't twisting or doing anything just twisty or anything like that. And we've got 3 to go. 2, 1. Brilliant. And lift it up. Right, so we come down to the floor. So if you want to stay with this kettlebell, you can do. Again, bend your knees to put the kettlebell down to the floor. And we're going to come into your mat. So just make sure you've got plenty of space. Again, you don't want to get tangled up on any bits of furniture or any bits of gym equipment if you're doing it in a smaller gym area. Okay? And we're going to do our double chest press with triceps. So, super important to make sure that you're not going to bash your head, and also make sure that you're not going to take anything out of the kettlebell. Okay, so I'm just going to migrate down my mat just a fraction. Okay, so we keep those elbows into the body. We're going to press the arms up towards the ceiling. Now, we're going to take the kettlebell down behind the head, so making sure you don't plonk the back of your head. We're going to reach it all the way up, and then we're going to draw it back down. So we're going to reach it all the way up, take it down behind the head, again making sure you don't bash your head or any bits of furniture, so sliding those elbows down to the floor. Each time you want to make sure those elbows come down. So we also want to make sure that we're keeping that connection through those abdominals. Brilliant, and we've got 3 left to go. Keep keeping those abdominals nice and connected. And one more. Brilliant. So we're going to put that kettlebell down to the floor. We're going to roll ourselves up. Right, we're going to make sure we've got those weights out of the way, and then we're going to stretch out. So we're going to start with our legs. So we're going to start by bringing the soles of those feet together. We're going to slide the heels in. So again, just make sure you're not going to bash your legs around anything. We want to keep that chest nice and open. Brilliant. So again, just allow the weight of the legs to draw down. And we're going to take that leg out in front. So we want to have that sole of the foot resting on the inside edge of the thigh. We're going to lift up out of your hip joints. We're going to reach it forwards. We're going to grab those toes. We're going to direct your heel towards the centre of your room. And get that stretch through that lower back and through the hamstrings. Keeping your shoulders drawing down. And then we're going to switch it over. So we're going to lift up out of your hip joints. We're going to reach it forwards. Get that nice big stretch. Press that heel away. Lovely. Then we're going to take that leg over the top. Now, if you can just do this stretch like this, that is absolutely fine. If you're able to swing that leg around and press that heel into the heel, your bottom knee closest to your heel, that's fine. And draw that knee in towards your chest, totally fine, but don't force it. Again, it's no point going really wobbly and then falling over. Right, we're going to untangle ourselves and we're going to swap the legs over. So again, if one side's a bit tight, again, don't worry about it. Again, generally we are tighter slightly on one side than on the other. Brilliant. And then we're going to come up to a standing position. So we're going to start off by stretching out through the upper body. So first of all, let's move those mats out of the way. Again, safety first. So we're going to start with that upper back. So we're going to interlock those fingers. We're going to round through the upper back for me, get that nice big stretch. Try and separate those shoulder blades for me. Brilliant. Then we're going to bring those hands behind the body. So I'm just going to put my back towards you, and then we're going to draw the shoulders back. We're going to reach the arms up, and then we're going to just gently look up to the ceiling to increase that stretch across the chest. Fantastic. Right, I'm going to come back round to the front. We're going to take the arm across the body. We keep those shoulders drawing down. Keep that width across that body for me. And then the other side. Brilliant. We're going to reach the arm up to the ceiling to get that nice big stretch into the triceps. So we're going to take it down behind the body. So again, we want to feel that stretch coming down the back of the body. So right down through here. Again, keeping that length through that spine. And then the other side. Fantastic. Right, with those arms down, we're going to bring that ankle up to the bottom. So if you need to hold on to a wall or something, do so. We're going to bring that ankle up. Again, if you are grabbing hold of something to balance, just make sure it's not going to fall over and hurt yourself. And then we're going to tuck those hips forward just to increase that stretch through the hip flexor. And then we'll put that foot down, and then the other side. And then tuck the hips forward. Brilliant. So we're going to finish our stretching off with our calves. So we're going to take your right foot in front, you're going to take your left foot behind. Right, first of all, you're going to drop those hips forward, so you're going to send that knee forwards. Then, as long as you've got plenty of space, we're then going to take a little hinge to increase that stretch. And again, probably at the moment your calves could be a little bit tighter than usual, so again, spending a few extra seconds stretching out the calves are important. And I'm going to switch it over. So again, feet nice and parallel, drop that weight forwards. Again, a little bit extra hinge. Fantastic. Right, we're going to have those feet nice and parallel for me. We're going to take it all the way down. We're going to reach it all the way up to the ceiling. Again, watching out for those light fit-ins. Reach it all the way down and up. And one more time. Fantastic, team. So that's the end of your kettlebell workout. So do make sure that obviously you pop your kettlebells away nice and safely and make sure you're not going to trip over anything. And that's the end of your session, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you, goodbye.